was a rainy Thursday morning in a small town somewhere in the Midwest. The kind of rain that seeps into your bones, makes everything gray, and makes people rush past each other with their heads down. Emma, a young woman in her late 20s, was running late for work, juggling a cup of lukewarm coffee and her overstuffed bag. She was tired, stressed, and honestly, not in the mood for anything today. As she hurried down the street, she noticed a man sitting on the curb. His clothes were worn and damp from the rain, and his eyes carried a heaviness that spoke of years of struggle. Most people would have kept walking. Most people would have ignored him, lost in their own busy lives. But something in Emma's heart nudged her to stop. Before she even realized it, she had reached into her bag and handed him her umbrella. "Here. I think you need this more than I do," she said softly. The man looked up, startled, as if he hadn't expected anyone to notice him, let alone care. His eyes filled with a mix of surprise and gratitude. "Thank you," he whispered. And that was it, just a simple act, yet it felt heavier than anything Emma had done in a long time. Before we continue with Emma's story, if you love hearing real, heartwarming tales that remind us of the power of kindness, make sure to subscribe to Kindness Story Hub, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your own stories of kindness. Emma walked on, a little lighter than before, but she couldn't stop thinking about the man on the curb. There was something about the vulnerability in his eyes that stayed with her. She tried to focus on her day, but every meeting, every task, felt a little dull compared to that small moment on the street. Later that afternoon, during her lunch break, she decided to grab a quick sandwich from a local cafe. As she was waiting in line, she overheard a conversation at the next table. A young boy was talking to his mother about how people were good deep down and how he believed in helping others whenever possible. Emma smiled quietly to herself. Maybe it wasn't such a bad day after all. On her way back to work, her phone buzzed with a notification. She glanced at it, expecting an email or a reminder, but it was a message from an unknown number. Curious, she opened it. "Hi, this is Michael," it read. "I'm the man you gave your umbrella to this morning. I wanted to say thank you. You didn't know it, but today was one of the hardest days of my life. That small act of kindness meant more than I can ever explain. Could we meet for coffee sometime? I'd love to tell you more." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected this. She almost ignored the message, thinking maybe it was a scam or someone playing a joke. But something told her to respond. She agreed to meet him at a small cafe downtown. The next day, Emma found herself sitting across from Michael. He was in his early 30s, with kind eyes and a calm presence that immediately put her at ease. As they talked, he shared his story. Michael had recently lost his job, his apartment, and was struggling to stay afloat. He had been feeling invisible, like no one cared. The umbrella, Emma's simple gesture, had reminded him that people still saw him, that people still cared. "I don't know why you stopped for me," he said, his voice breaking slightly. "But that moment gave me hope. It reminded me that I could still trust people, that maybe life wasn't entirely against me." Emma felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She had no idea her small action could have such a profound impact. She had always believed in helping others, but seeing it ripple out in real life was overwhelming. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Michael kept in touch. She learned more about his dreams, his talents, and his struggles. Michael was an artist, someone who had once sold paintings in small galleries and online. But life had been harsh, and his confidence had been crushed under the weight of bills, debts, and disappointments. One afternoon, Michael invited Emma to see his small studio. It was cluttered with canvases, brushes, and the faint smell of paint. As she looked around, she noticed a particular painting, unfinished but breathtaking, a cityscape at dusk, painted in shades of orange, pink, and Violet, this is for you, Michael said quietly. Emma stared at the painting. It captured the exact moment she had handed him the umbrella, the rain, the street, and a tiny figure holding a bright umbrella. It was more than a painting, it was a memory, frozen in time, full of emotion and gratitude. Emma couldn't speak. She felt a mix of awe and humility. She had done something small, and yet it had inspired someone to create something beautiful, something lasting. Weeks turned into months. Michael's confidence slowly returned, and with Emma's encouragement, he started selling his art again. His pieces began to gain attention online, and he even received invitations to exhibit in a local gallery. Emma felt proud, not because of any personal gain, but because she had witnessed the transformation that kindness could spark. But the story didn't end there. One day, Michael surprised Emma with tickets to an art exhibition where his work was featured. As they walked through the gallery, Emma noticed a painting at the center of the room. It was her, the umbrella, and the rain-soaked street. It had become the centerpiece of the exhibition. Crowds gathered around it, people taking photos, commenting, and asking the story behind it. Emma felt a strange mix of embarrassment and joy. Her small act had not only changed Michael's life but had also inspired countless others who saw the painting. People started sharing their own acts of kindness, and the story of the umbrella spread online. Emma realized something important that day. Kindness is never wasted. Even the smallest gesture can ripple out in ways we could never imagine. A smile, a helping hand, a listening ear, they all matter. Michael's journey reminded her that hope often comes from unexpected places, and that sometimes, being kind isn't about expecting anything in return, it's about planting a seed that can grow in ways we cannot foresee. Months later, Emma and Michael organized a small community event called the Umbrella Project, where people were encouraged to perform small acts of kindness in their neighborhoods. They collected stories, photos, and even letters from people who had been inspired to help others. The project grew bigger than either of them had anticipated, touching lives across the town, and even reaching neighboring cities. Emma often thought back to that rainy Thursday morning, when she almost didn't stop. She could have been late, distracted, or too preoccupied with her own problems. But she chose to care, even for a moment, and that choice created a chain reaction of hope and positivity. She learned that kindness isn't always grand gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as noticing someone who needs a little help, giving them a smile, or, in her case, sharing an umbrella. And she realized that the world becomes a better place not just through massive changes, but through countless small, human moments that remind us we're not alone. Emma and Michael's friendship continued to grow, rooted in the shared understanding that life is fragile, and kindness is a powerful force. They saw firsthand how small acts could spark hope, creativity, and resilience in others. And every time Emma walked down a rainy street now, she couldn't help but notice little opportunities to make someone's day better. Knowing just how far one simple act could reach. In the end, Emma understood something profound. Kindness has a way of coming back, often in the most surprising ways. A small gesture can ignite a chain of events that changes lives, including your own. She never thought handing someone an umbrella could lead to friendship, community projects, or inspiring thousands of others to do good, but it did. And that was the magic of it.so. The next time you see someone in need, pause. Offer your help, your smile, or your time. You never know how that one small act might ripple out, touching lives in ways you can't even imagine. Because kindness, once given freely, has a power to transform the world. One person, one moment, one act at a time, and who knows? That random act of kindness you do today might be tomorrow's life-changing surprise for someone else.